Hi, fellow crocheters. It's Janet with bddpatterns.com. Thank you so much for stopping by today. I'm so excited you're here because I'm doing a new series called Let's Go Glamping. Our first piece is the Glampfire Cardigan. So let's get started. Okay, let's see what we need to make the Glampfire Cardigan. First, I want to talk a little bit about my patterns. I get some comments from time to time, and I realize that not everybody understands what it takes to put out a YouTube video, especially a tutorial that is very long. Over a half hour is what I consider long. And I always do my best to give out the information that you need to understand the pattern and do whatever, and especially with my free patterns. But now I'm going to a format where I'm trying to make things more customizable. And I guess you would call that a tutorial instead of a pattern. So I just wanted to show you what the highlights of this pattern are. This is 11 pages, but I've only got I think I've got about 8 or 7 here, ones that are important, what I consider. But also too, guys, my patterns are ridiculously affordable. They are $5.99 in the website, and then what I do is, as long as you check out with a 2 or more in your cart, you just enter coupon code BUY1, and that's the number, get 1, and that's the number, and you will automatically get 50% off of your order total. So if you buy 4, it's going to cost you, $11. If you buy 2, it's going to cost you $5.99. So, or I'm sorry, it'll cost you, if you buy 4, it'll cost you $12. So either way, it's a really, really good deal. But this particular pattern, like I said, I wrote this more so that everybody could make a custom size. Although I give instructions in here for the small size with the numbers and everything like that. So that way you can see how the pattern gets put all together. But honestly, with this pattern, it's so easy. It's very beginner friendly and it's super customizable. So the first page is the cover page, and then the second page is where I list all of the materials that you need, and I always have links on that page. It's a PDF so that you can go right over to Amazon and get what you need if you don't have it locally. And this particular pattern also includes some really nice worksheets that I've put together to help you understand how to take measurements. So that's another benefit of having the written pattern. And then of course I have the instructions on how to measure. And then I have included a worksheet that helps you understand the measurements and whether you have to multiply them or whatever, so that you can get the total number of stitches and the measurements for the height or the rows, however you want to look at it. And then what else do I have here? Okay, I've got, of course, abbreviations, stitch abbreviations, a link to this video here, the instructions, and there's more instructions in that. And then in this one, I also include a schematic that has the details that you need in order to construct your cardigan. All right, that's enough about the pattern. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty. Obviously, you need a tape measure. I love these. I have a link to every product that I have here below, which I did get at Amazon. So I'm very pleased with those. These are my scissors. I've talked about this all the time. I wouldn't know what to do without these because, guys, I have stuff all over the house that I use for crochet and knitting. So these are always on my neck, and I know exactly where they're at. Plus, you gotta admit, they're kind of pretty. All right, stitch markers. You're gonna need 2 for this. These are my favorite stitch markers. I'll have the link for that below. A ring counter ring. Again, this is what I consider an essential. I would not know what to do without my ring counter ring. My row counter ring, excuse me. These are my favorite bent yarn needles. They come in this case, and therefore I just never lose them, and I always put them back. So I've got more than I need. I've lent out a couple from time to time over the years, but I've had this for quite a while, and I just absolutely love it. I'm also grateful that Amazon still sells that. All right, let's talk about yarn. I used Sugar and Cream by Lily, and it is a worsted number 4. And they come in these great cones. You just take the sleeve off and you just pull the yarn from the top. So set it down if you're standing up. I have I'm working on a new website, and once that's up, I'll let you guys know. Don't worry, it's going to have all my patterns on it, but everything is a little bit more updated, and I've got some more options that I can do. So very excited about that, but I'm going to have an article in there about standing up and crocheting. So that's going to be fun. All right, so for this pattern, the one that I made, which was the small, and that was 40 inches wide by 30 inches tall, and that took me about 1.5 of these. So you have to get 2 of these for that. So I would say 2 of these for the sizes small to large, which would be up to about 42 inches wide, but your height is going to also add to it. And then so to be safe, let's just say small through large, 2 cones, and anything above that is going to be at least 3. So if you can't get these locally, they do have them on Amazon. Lily has a store, so they're great. All right, let's get going. Okay, let's start out with about a 30-inch tail, and go ahead and chain loosely 10. All right, now we're just going to do our crochet in the back bump so that our first row turns out perfect. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you so much for watching. If you've been here before, you know the shtick, so you can fast forward it just a little bit. But we're going to be going right into this back bump. You see it right here. This is the top view of the side of the stitch. This is if we were looking at it like from the front, and then the side. And what we want to do is we want to put our first row all single crochet into each of these bumps. And the reason that we're doing that is so that that first row will be nice and neat, just like the last row. And it really helps when you're joining something too. Okay, so we're going to go into the second chain from the hook, and we're just going to single crochet. Let me pull this a little tighter over here. All right, we're just going to single crochet right into that second bump, and then single crochet into each bump until you get to the end. So what that means is we will be working across 9 stitches. Then we just have a couple more. It's really easy once you get the hang of it, especially if you make that first chain loose. Some people actually, if you're a tight crocheter, maybe you want to start with a number 6 hook instead of a number 5, and then switch after you get that first row laid out. All right, now we're working across 9 stitches. So here's our repeat row. We're just going to turn our work. We've chained 1 and turn our work. And now we're simply going to single crochet into the first stitch, and then single crochet in the back loop of the next 7 stitches. So here's the top, and there's the back loop. So we're back loop crochet, single crocheting across 7 stitches. And then that should take us to the end, or 1 stitch away from the end, excuse me. Because again, we're working across 9 stitches. And so here we are, we've done our 7, sorry, my yarn got stuck. We've done our 7 back loop single crochet stitches. Now we're just going to go into that very last stitch and do a regular. You know, it's funny, when I make these videos, sometimes the stitches go wonky, and like they never do that when I'm off camera. It's just kind of comical. I had to share. All right, so chain 1 and turn. Now, this is a repeat row. Again, it's single crochet into the first stitch, back loop, single crochet, into the next 7 stitches, and then single crochet into that last stitch, chain 1 and turn. Now I want you to do that, and this is for a size small medium. I want you to do that until this piece measures 40 inches. And then we'll go from there. So again, just single crochet into the first stitch, back loop single crochet into the next 7 stitches, single crochet in the last stitch, chain 1 and turn until you reach 40 inches. All right, so I said 40 inches and I have 40 inches. And also, I'm sorry I forgot to say this, but it's no big deal because it's just adding or subtracting 1 row. But please make this in an odd number. So for me, my 40 inches ended up being 100 rows, and I just added 1 row to that. So now I am going to chain 1 just like I normally would, but now I'm not going to be working this way. I'm going to be working this way, horizontally, like we normally would. So I've chained 1, and now I just want to single crochet into the top of each of these 101 rows. Now it's real easy to find this. First of all, here's the ridge of the ribbing, and that indicates that there's 2 stitches. Every ridge that you see is, or I'm sorry, 2 rows. So for me, it's really super easy just to find these, and I know it will be for you too after I explain this, but you just look for the ridge and then the space next to it. And that's it. And now I'm going to make sure that I have 101 stitches, because that's going to be the number that I am going to work with. And that is also the number for the small pattern. Okay, I just thought of something. I just did 100 single crochet stitches, and now I'm going to do my last 101st stitch. But before I do that, what I want to do is I want to show you something. Just because this is really the last stitch, but that is part of the row. So just go ahead and go into that last loop there. So you'll really only be going into 1, but that's okay because that makes the edge like so much better. So now you're going to go ahead and you've completed the first row, which is the foundation row, so it doesn't really count, but we'll just say first row single crochet, and then we're going to chain 2 and we're going to turn. Now we're going to get into the pattern. The pattern is really super simple. We're just going to be doing a double crochet in 2. Some call it the V-stitch, but I don't know if I could call it that because I'm not placing a chain stitch in between the V. I don't want that much space. So I've chained 2 and I'm turning, and now I am going to double crochet, not into the first stitch, but into the second one. Okay, just double crochet. Some say you should chain 3. No, I'm going to chain 2. I'm going to be defiant here. You can chain 3 if you want, it doesn't really matter, but I like to chain 2. All right, so now I'm going to do that again in that same spot. So let's just take a look and see what we've done here. Okay, we chained 2 at the end. We skipped the first stitch, and we've chained 2 into the, or I'm sorry, we've double crocheted 2 into the next stitch. Now that's all we're going to do across, is we're just going to skip a stitch and then double crochet twice into the next stitch. Okay, let's do that one more time. Okay, double crochet, skip a stitch, double crochet twice into the next stitch. Okay, skip a stitch, double crochet twice into the next stitch, and we'll meet back here when we get to the end, and then we'll be on our repeat row. Yay! Okay, isn't this going to be pretty? I'm so excited about this. All right, now I just wanted to talk about the end of the row. So we really, if we're following this pattern of 2 double crochets, skip 1, 2 double crochets into the next stitch, we would think that the last stitch would be a 2 double crochet, but it's not. I want it to look the same as it does over here, even though I'm not really counting. I did not count this as the first stitch. So go ahead and just double crochet into the last stitch of row 1. Okay, chain 2 and turn. This is really going to be beautiful. I struggled with this when I started designing it. I thought, okay, maybe I'll just like do it like this and then single crochet and then the V-stitch, but I decided to make it all V-stitch because it is summer and really this deserves to be more of an open look. So now all we're going to do is we're just going to be crocheting our 2 double crochet stitches into each V space. So here's the space, and I'm just going to put 2 double crochets into that space. So again, I've chained 2 and I've just skipped over until, excuse me, I have to get some more yarn. These cones are funny, really coming from like a side view. This is like whatever, but if you come from the top, it's the easiest thing in the world to crochet from. I love this. So we're going to now, again, here's our V, and just go ahead and double crochet twice into that V stitch, which is 2 double crochets from the previous row. All right, go ahead and do that across for row 2, and we'll meet back at the end. Okay, here we are at the end of of row 2. And as you see, we have 1 stitch left. And so all we're going to do is we're going to go right into that second chain from the previous row, and that's going to be our stitch. And we're going to double crochet, oops, into that stitch. Chain 2 and turn. Now this is our repeat row. So this is a repeat of not the foundation row, which was single crochet, but row 1. So we're just going to turn. We're going to do a couple stitches just as a reminder so that we can see. All right, we're going to skip that first stitch just like we did before. Yarn over and place 2 double crochets into that V. And there we go. Then we're just going to continue along with 2 double crochets right into the center of the V from the previous row. And then when you get to the end, just remember that it's just 1 double crochet into the top of that turning chain. And you will do this until your piece reaches 28 inches from the bottom to, whoops, hello, these retractable ones work pretty good, don't they? So it needs to be 28 inches for this size, small, medium, from the bottom to where you stop with your V-stitch row. All right, see you back later. Okay, so now our piece measures 28 inches from here to the top of our last row. So what we're going to do is a mirror image of this. And when we construct this, it's really great because the neckline is already complete. I love these types of cardigans. They're just so easy. Cocoon, shrugs, whatever you want to call them. All right, so here we are at the end of our row that gave us 28 inches, and now we are just going to do what we did down here, which was we crocheted the ribbing, if you remember, and then we started working our project horizontally into the top of the rows of the ribbing, and that way we got to, you know, the width of the piece. And before we did the ribbing, or after we did the ribbing, we did a row of single crochet. So now we're going to do a row of single crochet before we do the ribbing. So in my particular case, the written pattern will include this size small, because this really is more of a tutorial in order to make it your own. And mine, if you remember, had 101 stitches, and that's for a size small medium. So that means that I'm just going to go ahead and single crochet across all these stitches. And again, that would be 101 stitches. So once I'm done with that, we'll meet back here and we'll get into how to do the ribbing this way. Okay, I just completed 101 single crochet stitches across the top. And now I'm going to show you how to work the ribbing basically in reverse. So you need to chain 10. Five, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay. We're going to do the same thing that we did at the beginning. We're going to be working this first row of ribbing into the back bumps of each chain stitch. Skip the first one because we need 9 stitches, and just single crochet into that back bump. And don't make your, I made my last 4 chains. I knew I was doing it when I did it. I don't know why I didn't correct myself, but I think I can get it now. But you're going to want to single crochet into those back bumps, and don't make your, I'm going to rip it apart, guys, I'm sorry, but there's no need to stress out over a chain stitch. So just really super loose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, all right. Now we're going to find that second bump from the hook, which is right there, and we're going to single crochet right into that bump, and then into the next 8 bumps. And it is just, I'm not going to lie to you, this cotton, it really grips it like, I don't know, it's the texture of it, it's the texture of the cotton, but it really just like, it does grip together. So I am just going to fidget with this, and you're going to see it because this is real and this happens. So I'm on the second, good heavens, the second single crochet stitch in the bump. And there we are. And so I should now have 7 more. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've been pulling on it, so I might have distorted the stitches a little bit there. 3. Okay, get that bump. 4. 5, 6, 7. Oh, I should have 9. Let me recount. I might have really 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, no, I have 9. Sorry about that, guys. It was a little messy, but we'll fix it. Okay, so we have 9 single crocheted into our chain stitch. Now here we are And I want you to see there's the stitch that we're actually working in, but we're going to go ahead and go into that stitch, and we're just going to slip stitch. And then we're going to go into the next stitch, and we're going to slip stitch again. Okay, so see, now what we're doing is we're working vertically into this horizontal row. So after we have slip stitched into those 2 stitches, we're just going to turn our work. All right, and that's my washer. I'm washing some sheets, so if that's a little, you're wondering what that squeaky noise is, sorry about that, it must be off balance. All right, so we're going to skip those 2 slip stitches, and we're going to back loop single crochet into those next 9 single crochets that we just did previously. And after this second row here, this is going to look so much better, and it's going to be so much easier. And at home, I know yours looks better than mine because I'm standing up and the angle of my table that I have to film on isn't really as right as it should be. All right, now I want to say something about this last stitch. See, here we are, we've done 8 single crochets into the back loop, and we're going to just single crochet into the last stitch. All right, let's get into this now and see how pretty this is going to be. All right, so we're going to chain 1 and turn. Now see, we're working back into our single crochet row, and we'll do this last one together, and then you can just take off from here and go right across. All right, single crochet into the first stitch, back loop single crochet, back loop, which is right here. See, that's the back loop, the back loop, the back loop, into the remaining stitches on the ribbing, which again, we have a total of 9. And just for those of you that are counting, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then so I need 4 more, and I know they're there. 7. And make sure you do count these, because you want to make sure that you've got 9, because that last stitch can be a little wonky. So I'm going to double check this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, I have 9. Okay, now the next stitch right here, all right, is where we're going to slip stitch, and then the next stitch, slip stitch. Okay, then we're going to turn our work, and here we go. We're going to complete this last portion of this together. We're going to skip those 2 slip stitches, and we're going to back loop single crochet into the next 8 stitches, and then in the very last stitch we're just going to perform a regular crochet, and that's it. Not very hard at all. All right, there's my last back loop single crochet, and I'm just going to regular single crochet into that last stitch. Okay, let me repeat this. Then I chain 1, turn back into my ribbing, single crochet into the first stitch, back loop single crochet into the next 8 stitches, slip stitch into the body, into that first stitch that you're right there. See, you can tell when I come down here, I'm going to be right here. So I'm in this stitch, so I'm going to the next 2 stitches, and I'm going to slip stitch into those 2 stitches. I'm going to turn, then I'm going to skip those 2 slip stitches and go back into my ribbing. And you're going to do that until you have reached the end of your row, and that would be you're working over 101 stitches. All right, we'll see you back for the construction. Okay, I am almost done, but I wanted to show you guys how to do this last row, because if no matter how many rows you have, you want to end with your yarn here, because that's how we're going to sew it. So as you can see, I've just got 1 more stitch left, so I'm just going to slip stitch into that, And that is correct because I have an odd number of rows. If you have an even number of rows, you should have 2. So instead of skipping 2 stitches, I only have 1 slip stitch to skip. And that was my point of showing you this. So now I'm going to do 8 back loop single crochets. And then in the last stitch, I will do, as the pattern has been for me for the last 100 rows, I'm going to do a single crochet stitch. And there we go. Okay, now we're going to fasten off, and we're going to need a tail because we're going to also use this tail for sewing. So I'm going to fasten off with, don't need that long of a tail, but still, that's the one thing about, you know, predetermining your tails. It's always kind of hard. So it's better just to make them longer than shorter, because the last thing you want to do is be sewing and then all of a sudden you're, you know, out of yarn. All right. Okay, so now we have got our cardigan that after it was 28 inches up until the last V stitch, I added on, of course, the 9 single crochet stitches, which now makes it a little over 30 inches tall. And what we're going to do now is we're going to fold it in half this way, and I'm not going to be able to show you, I'm sorry, this whole thing. Let me zoom out how far I can go with this, but I won't be able to show you because it is 40 inches wide. So, but you get the idea. You want to go ahead and you just want to fold it in half this way. And all you're doing is just getting ready to form the neckline, okay? But what we're doing is we're basically folding the neckline together. So what's going to happen now is we're going to sew up here, and I'm going to get the directions in the next portion of the video as to how many inches you want to sew. And then that will create the arm openings, and then we're going to put some ribbing on those arm openings, and we're going to be done. So we're almost there. Also, too, I wanted to show you, this is now folded in half. Again, our ribbing is just, it's folded in a half lengthwise, and our ribbing is, or excuse me, widthwise, heighthwise. Gosh, geez. It's folded in half heighthwise, and as you can see here, my total piece is 15 inches. So that's exactly what I wanted. And now I'm going to grab my yarn needle, and I am going to sew up this to where there's, I believe, 8 inches, but I'll confirm that in the next set. Okay, I said 8 inches, but it's actually 7 inches, and here's what I mean. What you want to do is, this is, excuse me, those are my needles. This is obviously the bottom where we started with the ribbing and ended, and that is eventually going to be the neckline. So the opening that we want for this has to be 7 inches, and that's 7 inches from the fold. So you would just measure down and then mark it, and I mark mine with a stitch marker. Let's just do that. So now I know that I have to sew up from here to the stitch marker, and that way my sleeve opening is right here. And then once we get that taken care of, we're actually going to add a nice little border just to finish it. So go ahead and grab your yarn needle, your favorite yarn needle, and this is mine right here. I absolutely love these. I really wouldn't know what to do without them. These bent yarn needles are just so easy. And this comes with the written pattern, by the way. And then what you want to do is you just want to take and thread your needle, which I couldn't find my little needle threader. It's somewhere. I'm in a different, I just moved my office, so I'm kind of struggling with finding things, but that's okay. It was really easy to thread. So like I said, just sew this up with your pre-made tail, okay? and just take it up so that your sleeve opening is 7 inches, and do that on both sides. Then we'll meet back and we'll put it all together and add the sleeve ribbing. Okay, now that you have both sides sewn up, let's go ahead and let's turn this right side out. And we'll be working on it on the right side going forward. So let's find our seam, and see that where it sews up like really well. Like you can really not even hardly see that seam at all. So go ahead and find it. And then we don't need my hair in there, excuse me, on that one. We are going to insert our hook into that seam, and we're going to join our yarn. So now we're going to be working around the opening of our sweater in order to get a nice ribbing effect on that as well. I'm going to make this tail a little bit longer, but we are going to go right over it. So go ahead and chain 1, and then right back into that same stitch with your, with your single crochet. Now we worked this in a double crochet stitches, so there's 2 here and there's 2 here. So what we're going to do is we're going to look for where the row is, and then we're also going to add a single crochet into the chain. So I'm going to go slow on this for just a couple, but you'll be able to find it. So here's that first, it looks like a V, even though as you can see, this was we went horizontally, but we're just going to go ahead and single crochet into that. Now this is where you're going to get a little, if you're really nervous about not following something exactly, you can't be. Don't do it to yourself, because this is really the only part of this pattern where it's kind of intuitive. Okay, so I've gone into that row there, and now I'm going into the chain 2. Okay, whoops, I don't need to do a half double, I just need to do a single. All right, so what you're going to want to do here though is you're going to want to count your stitches, just keep track of them, because you're going to want to make sure that when you go over to your other opening, your other arm opening, that you've got the same exact count, because we dealt with a measurement, but now we're going to have to really keep track of our stitches and deal with that. Okay, so there we go. There's another one. So this is my 4th stitch. Okay, see right there, there's the chain. 5th, and there's that V. I'm going to go right into that. 6, 7, 8, and there's the chain. 9, 10, 11, 12, and again, you can see what I'm doing. I don't want to make it too tight, but it is going to be a little tighter because you want it to like pull it in, because this is more of a snugger kind of fit than a loose one. So just go ahead, and now you can really see it. Continue. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, all right, and you see what I'm doing, and it looks like I'm going to have, you know, possibly close to 40, but I'll give you a count when I'm at the end. All right, just keep going into your chain 2 and then into the next row space, and keep going around, counting your stitches, making sure that you know how many you've got, and then we'll work on the ribbing. And the ribbing technique is going to be the same technique as it was when we were at when we got to the top of the cardigan. Okay, I ended up with a round of 46 stitches. So now I'm just going to join this last stitch to the first stitch with a slip stitch. All right. So remember, we have 46 stitches, so that means we're going to end up doing 46 rows of our ribbing. So this is entirely up to you. We have a 9-stitch ribbing right here. I kind of want to change it up and do a 7-stitch ribbing. So however many stitches you want on your ribbing is totally cool. I'm going to do 7. So that means that I have to chain 8. If you remember, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and remember kind of loosely, 7, 8. So chain however many stitches you want to work across for your ribbing plus 1. Okay, let's do 2 rows together. So we're going to go into that back bump just like we did for the ribbing before, and we're going to do a single crochet. And this is important when we go to join our ribbing. And then single crochet into the next 6 back bumps of those 8 chains or 7 chain stitches now that we'll be working across. So instead of working across 9, we'll be working across 7. You see that? Right into that back bump there. Okay, one more. All right, so now we've got 7, okay? And the first one always looks really wonky, but don't worry about that. Okay, and next we're going to find our next 2 stitches. So here's the one here, our single crochet stitches that we did in the round. And we're just going to go right in there and we're going to do a slip stitch. Then we're going to go into that next stitch and we're going to do a slip stitch. So we're doing our same pattern again. All right, now we're going to give it a little turny. We're going to skip those 2 slip stitches and we're going to back loop, single crochet into the next 6 stitches. And remember, the first 2 rows, they always look wonky, but it always pulls together beautifully. So here we are, number 5, number 6. All right, and then single crochet into the last stitch of that ribbing row. Chain 1 and turn. All right, let's do this one more time together. You should be a pro at this by now. We've already done it. So 1 single crochet stitch, 6 back loop single crochet stitches, my cone over here. Okay, one more. All right, slip stitch into the next 2 stitches, and you can see that was my little tail there, but that's all right, it'll pop through when I get going on it. All right, and then we've got our 2 slip stitches. We're going to skip those, back loop single crochet into the next 6 stitches, and single crochet into that last stitch. Now remember, however many stitches you had in your round, you're going to do the same amount of rows. So I've got 1, 2, 3. I've got 3 rows here. Okay, so I need to go back and check the video. If I'm wrong, I'll post a text up here, but I'm pretty sure I had 46. So I should have 46 stitches going around, which means I need to do 46 rows. All right, we'll see you back then. Okay, I just completed my last row. And I did do the 46 like I did with the stitches. And so now I'm just going to chain 1. All right. Then all I'm going to do is join these 2 together. And I'm just going to do that with a simple slip stitch. And yes, the joining will be on the outside, but it will just look like it's part of the ribbing. So it's pretty cool. Just make sure you're going through both stitches because you want this to be secure. This is what we call in sewing a stress point. So you just want to make sure that you've gone through, basically you're going through 4 loops, as you can see right here, to just, you're going through, here's the one stitch from the one side and here's the other stitch from the back side. So you're just going to go right through those and then slip stitch them together. There we go. And I'm going to do all this together, and then all you're going to do, guys, is just repeat the same thing on the other sleeve, and then you'll be done. Isn't that exciting? I'm so happy for you. Thank you so much for going through this with me, and I just decided that this is going to be a part of my camping series. I'm in Michigan, as a lot of you may know, and camping, even though I don't do it, I do hotels or glamping, but camping is super, super popular right here. So I just wanted to just sort of make a video that, like, you know, or a series of crochet pieces that you could take with you and just have a beautiful camping experience. All right, we'll see you next week for the next pattern.